I know I'm paraphrasing, but Avengers Infinity War reviews are a lot like assholes. Everybody's got one, and a lot of them end up on the internet. So I wanted to do something different. I didn't want to be the billionth asshole out there. I wanted to do a video where I'm not just going on and on about how awesome the movie was, and let's face it, it was. I wanted to do a topic video where I discuss some of the things that I actually thought could have made this awesome movie even awesomer. That's right, a guy no one asked giving his opinion on how to improve one of the most successful films of all time. Let's see another asshole do that. So, just to preface, this is not me quoting the Marvel Comics canon. I will not cite the pages of the comic books. This is all about the movies. Which of course means if you haven't seen Infinity War, major spoilers ahead. And yes, I'm aware, Infinity Wars is already 2.5 hours long. Hell, they wouldn't have a chance to throw in anything else even if they tried. They cut it back for time, and I give the Russo brothers and writers Stephen McFeely and Christopher Marcus all the credit in the world for balancing the film the way they did. But the first thing I felt was missing really left a void. A giant green void. Where was my boy, the Hulk? Now, of course, all of my viewers will know my affinity for the Jade Giant, and I'm sure there are other people watching this review who are thinking to themselves, I didn't get enough of my favorite hero either. And I know it's the nature of the beast. In a film this large, this ambitious, with this many characters, all the heroes are pretty much going to get the same amount of screen time, unless you're Ant-Man or Hawkeye. But I also know, and I've spoken to Cap fans who said I barely got to see Steve, or Black Panther fans who say I barely got any T'Challa. And I know, what am I really complaining about? Because the Hulk moments we got were really memorable. I mean, we got that great throwback line from Loki of, we have a Hulk, and then he comes out, and then he gets his ass kicked in the first 15 minutes of the movie. And then, we never see him again. And I know, it's character development for the Hulk. It's great that he's scared, it's something different, he's not an unstoppable force. And I know, it'll probably pay off in a big way in Avengers 4, but these Avengers films are the only chance we get to see the Hulk, because with the deal with Universal, chances are we won't be seeing a solo Hulk film in a long time. So this is his only chance to shine. And in the last two Avengers-related films he's been in, he's either been a toddler-esque sidekick or have performance issues. I'm growing green as I'm growing impatient. Now this kind of leads me into my second point, and please bear with me, because at first glance it'll seem that in my old age it's not just my midsection that's going soft, but one very specific element that I felt was missing was romance. And I actually mean very specific romances. Now arguably, we got a great love story with Gamora and Star-Lord. There were some very tense and loving moments there. We got great love stories throughout, not just romantic. We got Gamora and Thanos as daughter and father. We got Pepper and Tony and their plans for the wedding. We got Steve and Bucky. But am I the only one who actually liked what Joss Whedon did with Black Widow and Hulk? I know it seems like I'm just focusing on Hulk, but the fact is, he took two of the strongest, toughest characters on the outside and gave them this great shared vulnerability. And for you people who think that Whedon ruined Natasha, remember that vulnerability and weakness are not the same thing. But after 3 long years, after Nat was left heartbroken at the end of Age of Ultron, we get a "Hi Nat" and a sarcastic quip from Falcon. Okay, I'm getting carried away with Hulk, because when I thought of this romance subheading, I actually specifically thought about Scarlet Witch and Vision. Where were the 2 years between the two of them? I am not just a huge Hulk fan, I love me some Scarlet Witch, and the MCU version is fantastic as well. In the comics, she's a character who lives between both the X-Men and the Avenger worlds, and she's been responsible or a major part of some of their greatest storylines. But that just makes me want to see this romance even more, and both Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen are amazing in these roles. So why has it only been teased over the last several films that they have even a bit of a relationship? And now we finally get to see it, and then it's interrupted right away? So give us more. What happened to make them fall in love? What happened during those 2 years? What happened to Vision's snappy V-neck and slacks ensemble? And what happened to her accent? And what happened on Xandar, speaking of things they don't want to show? You do show us Thanos collecting 5 out of 6 of the Infinity Stones, but you can't show us that one? I mean, was Glenn Close too busy making father figures? And this is a big moment in the MCU, especially if they consider doing anything with the Nova Corps or Nova's character in the future, but they gave us practically nothing. Not a flashback, not a teaser scene, not a John C. Reilly. And I get it, it's cut for practicality, for the movie's runtime, but at the very least, it would have given Marvel an opportunity to give me more of the fourth thing I wanted to see more of, the Black Order. Because you know what? After Black Panther and now Infinity War, Marvel is teaching a masterclass in villainy. Infinity War was awesome. We'll all admit it. Thanos was awesome, and that's because Infinity War was basically Thanos' film. We followed his story, and what that means is for the second film in a row, Marvel gives us a villain that actually brings up some pretty good points. He's very well developed. We get his motivation, as do we get the motivation of some of his children, like Ebony Maw, Squidward. But what of the others? We get really close with Proxima Midnight in the second half of the film. She gets that awesome fight scene with some of the MCU's superpowered heroines. She gets an awesome actress voicing the character in Carrie Coon, who was awesome in Gone Girl and Fargo Season 3. But what of the other children of Thanos? Because if you read Infinity in Marvel Comics, the Black Order gets a lot of really nice little touches which makes them really well-developed characters. But in the movie, we just get awesome fight scenes. And I love that stuff, but for the first time I have to disagree, Marvel. You have to give them a little bit more development, because for the first time the Avengers are actually fighting another team, not some nondescript alien army like the Chitauri, not the Ultron bots, actual individuals. I mean, when I went to go see it on opening weekend, one of those characters actually garnered applause when he died. This leads me into my last point nicely, because Marvel has always drawn criticism because of their one-dimensional villains, and finally they seem to be on the right track. Let's hope that continues, but there's still one aspect they haven't dealt with: consequences. And before everybody loses their damn mind, you already let me explain romance, so let me explain this one. And I mean real consequences, because when I reviewed Thor Ragnarok, I called it a little too silly. There wasn't really any emotional depth, there wasn't any consequences, and then people lost their damn mind and screamed at me. At least electronically in the comments section, proverbially screamed that don't worry about it. What about his eye? What about his hammer? What about Asgard? What about his father? And I replied, his eye is cosmetic, much like his hair. His hammer? Moot, because he didn't need it to summon his lightning and thunder powers. And there's a line of dialogue in the movie that says, Asgard is where the people are. So I guess we don't need to worry about those rainbow-colored buildings that were destroyed over there. Now, granted, half of those people were then slaughtered by Thanos, so I'll give you this one. But I think my point was proven when the very next movie Thor got a new eye and a new hammer. But let's go back to death for a second, because actually Odin's death in Thor Ragnarok is a perfect example of no consequences, because about 40 minutes after his actual death, Ghost Dad shows up and he's the one who tells Thor he doesn't even need the hammer. Two non-consequential things with one stone, I guess. Okay, granted, there were a lot of deaths in Infinity War, and I do mean a lot, but which ones, if any, are going to matter, and which ones are going to last? And I know that sounds super cynical, but here we are in the 19th MCU feature film, and between their movies and their television shows, by my count, a character has been presumed dead and come back 18 times. Averaging almost one per movie. Death is never permanent. Except the Inhuman show. That death was public and permanent. But sites that actually talk about this kind of stuff are posting articles like, what Avengers Infinity War deaths are actually permanent? It's basically just a game. Now granted, the deaths in this film like Loki, Heimdall, Gamora, or Vision might actually be permanent and therefore might actually mean something. And Spider-Man dying in the arms of Stark, very emotional. I get it. You know he's got a sequel, right? So does Doctor Strange. I'm also pretty sure you can't have Volume 3 of Guardians of the Galaxy with just Nebula and Rocket. And I'm also pretty sure that Marvel's not going to kill off their billion-dollar boy Black Panther before he gets a sequel as well. I'm not trying to belittle the immediate emotional impact of any of these moments or any of these deaths, but for years we've been teased. The Russo brothers promised tears because of this film. They posted on Twitter, please don't spoil it for anyone. Let them have their emotions. We've even heard about the contracts ending. Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr. may not return and probably won't. So they might actually be dead, but you know what? In the end, how long until we all get our proverbial hammer back? So real students, was there anything else you felt was missing? Was there anything I forgot? Let me know, or tell me what you thought of Infinity Wars in the comments section below. But until next time, school's out. Hey Real students, thanks for watching. If you want to subscribe to Real School, click that round Real School logo right beside me. Also click that damn notification bell so you're aware of all of Real School's new content. You can follow me on Twitter, and of course, if you get anything out of Real School, you can always give a little back. Just click the link in the description below or the button down there, and you can become part of my Patreon team.